The easiest way to move millions of dollars across borders doesn't involve banks. It doesn't involve offshore accounts. It doesn't even involve hiding anything. All you need is a suitcase. Inside it, gold. Not coins or jewelry bought from a store, but raw, unrefined gold pulled straight out of the ground.
Welcome to Doc Does Financial History, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks.
You walk into one of the busiest airports in the world, Dubai International. But instead of heading toward passport control like everyone else, you quietly churn toward the transit terminal. You sit down at a cafe, order a coffee, wait. A few minutes later, someone else walks in. No words are exchanged. He places his bag beside you, picks up yours, and walks away. You finish your coffee, pick up the new bag, board your next flight. Inside that bag is $2.5 million in cash. It sounds like a movie scene, a perfectly executed heist, but this isn't fiction. This is how hundreds of tons of gold move across borders every single year, quietly, efficiently, and almost completely unnoticed. Because every year, more than 400 tons of smuggled gold flows into the United Arab Emirates from Africa, worth around $30 billion. And once that gold arrives in Dubai, once it's melted, refined, and reshaped, it becomes legal, completely legal. This is happening at a time when the world is changing. Gold prices are rising to historic levels, not because of fashion or industry, but because of fear. Fear about the global economy, fear about currencies losing power. For decades, the US dollar has dominated global trade, but now that dominance is being questioned. Countries like China, India, and Russia are actively looking for alternatives, something independent, something stable. And for centuries, that something has always been gold. But gold comes with a problem. It's real, it's physical, and it's heavy. You can't just transfer it digitally like money. If you want gold, you have to move it, physically, across borders. And that's where Dubai comes in. Dubai didn't become the city of gold overnight. Its gold markets date back to the early 1900s. But everything changed in the 1970s when oil transformed the region. Wealth poured in, infrastructure expanded. Dubai built one of the busiest airports in the world. It became a global hub for business, tourism, and trade. And crucially, it placed zero tax on gold imports, no tariffs, no barriers, which made it the perfect place to buy, sell, refine, and move gold. Today, Dubai is home to over 20 major gold refineries and more than 7,000 gold traders. Every year, it imports over 1,000 tons of gold, and nearly 2/3 of that comes from Africa. But this is where the story begins to change. Because if you compare the numbers, something doesn't add up. African countries report exporting a certain amount of gold to the UAE, but the UAE reports importing far more. In 2022 alone, over 400 tons of gold simply didn't match. It was missing. And according to investigators, that gap can only mean one thing: smuggling. To understand why this is happening, you have to go to the source, Africa's gold mines. Over the past 2 decades, demand for gold has surged, but many African countries weren't prepared. They didn't have the infrastructure, they didn't have the regulations, and they didn't have the capacity to manage large-scale industrial mining. So a vacuum was created, and that vacuum was filled by small-scale miners, artisanal miners, individuals and private groups who could extract gold quickly but without oversight. And when something valuable exists without rules, power fills the gap. In many cases, that power came in the form of armed groups, militias, private security forces, because if you control the gold, you control the money. And nowhere is this more visible than in Sudan. Sudan has been in conflict for decades. Its former leader, Omar al-Bashir, relied heavily on the military and paramilitary groups to maintain control. But in 2011, everything changed. South Sudan broke away, taking with it 75% of the country's oil reserves. Overnight, Sudan lost its main source of income, and suddenly, gold became everything. The government began handing out gold contracts, not to international companies because sanctions made that difficult, but to generals and militia leaders, men who already had power and weapons. What should have been an economic opportunity quickly turned into something else, a fragmented, unregulated system where everyone was extracting gold and no one was really in control. By 2017, reports started emerging. Gold was being smuggled out of Sudan through airports and ports. In one case, a shipment labeled as sand was found to contain raw gold. In another, gold bars were hidden inside an oxygen cylinder on a commercial flight. The system wasn't just broken, it was being exploited at every level. At the center of this system was one man, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemeti, the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, a powerful paramilitary group with deep roots in Sudan's conflicts. Hemeti didn't just control territory, he controlled gold. Through a private company, his network managed mining operations and the profits that came with them. That money funded weapons, expanded influence, and turned him into one of the most powerful figures in Sudan. But Sudan's gold wasn't just funding local power, it was becoming part of something bigger, a global network. Russia, preparing for its war in Ukraine, began stockpiling gold. Its Wagner group was already active in Sudan, securing mines and facilitating the movement of gold out of the country. At the same time, the UAE became the primary destination, the place where this gold could be sold and transformed. Because once gold enters Dubai, it changes identity. It's melted, refined, and officially it gets a new origin. Not Sudan, not Mali, not Burkina Faso, Dubai. Which means the gold is now legal, even if its origins are anything but. As tensions in Sudan escalated, gold continued to flow. And when war broke out again in 2023, that flow didn't stop, it intensified. Because gold doesn't just survive conflict, it thrives in it. It funds weapons, pays fighters, sustains war. Reports suggest that weapons were being transported through regional networks linked to external actors, supply chains stretching across borders, connecting Sudan to Libya to Central Africa and beyond, all feeding into a conflict that has devastated the country. More than 15,000 people killed, over 10 million displaced, half the population facing severe hunger, in a country still exporting billions of dollars worth of gold. And that raises a difficult question. If so much illegal gold is flowing, why isn't it being stopped? The answer lies in regulation, or more accurately, the lack of it. Dubai has introduced new rules on gold sourcing, but according to experts, they are largely cosmetic. Without strict verification of origin, there's no reliable way to know where gold actually comes from. And without that, the system continues. What we're witnessing is something larger than just smuggling. It's a modern scramble for resources, a system where wealth is extracted from unstable regions and absorbed into global markets, cleaned, legalized, and disconnected from the conflict it came from. Because at the end of the day, gold doesn't carry labels, it doesn't show history, it doesn't reveal who suffered for it. But behind every bar of gold, there's a story of conflict, of power, of control. And as demand continues to rise, those stories are only becoming more common. Because this isn't just about Sudan, it's about a system that operates quietly in the background, linking global wealth to local instability. A system that continues in peace and in war, no matter the cost.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe for more content.